Hi, I'm Nick. I am a technology guy, as you just heard. I'm going to speak to you about the history of museums, a subject that I'm uniquely unqualified to talk about. So we'll see how this goes. So I looked at Wikipedia and it said that museums started a couple of thousand years ago. Apparently, it might have been the Museum of Alexandria from around 280 BC. So I tried to find a photo and there aren't any of those. So I got AI to hallucinate me up a picture, as you can see, and we can probably assume that it looked nothing like that. But there was a Greek historian, Strabo, who wrote that it had richly decorated lecture halls connected by porticos and colonnades, quite familiar to some of the museums we see today, which is, I don't know if it had the penny press machine, probably did have one of those, I would have thought. They all do, don't they? I've obviously used Wikipedia as my main source of information because I'm fraudulently presenting a conference I have no business at. So I asked Wikipedia what a museum's purpose was, and it said it was to collect, preserve, interpret and display objects of artistic, cultural, scientific significance for the study and education of the public. I'm going to paraphrase that because it's lengthy, isn't it? So basically it's to find interesting objects, collect those interesting objects, display them and sort of explain them. And in most museums, as far as I gather, this is done by a small group of people, or sometimes just one person's choice, just one person's perspective. So what else did Wikipedia have to say? It also said that an active museum community is a way to increase the sophistication of its inhabitants. Putting aside the pomposity of that sentence just for a second, I can tell you that at our museum we have hosted all the major political parties for events in the past. So I can say with quite some confidence that we've had rooms full of unsophisticated people before. So what else? What else, Wikipedia? What else can you tell us? Museums are above all storehouses of knowledge. Are they, above all, storehouses of knowledge? Yes, we've heard from Tim Reeve. There are definitely storehouses, lots and lots of objects. That was very interesting. But are we the storehouses of knowledge? Isn't that what a library is? Isn't a library a storehouse of knowledge? Go home, Wikipedia, you are drunk. Okay, so I'm not convinced by Wikipedia. Okay, so I'm on my own from here in. I can look at what we do as a museum, in our museum, what we have done for over 100 years, largely the same thing is collect objects, give it a physical description, give it a label, give it some history and some provenance, give it a collection item number, and congratulations, object, you've now been museumed. But then technology has come along, and that's allowed us to do a little bit more than put a card in front of an object. You know, we can have a screen or a kiosk, we can have interactive exhibits, we can go a bit deeper, explore a bit more context, see how things work. It's pretty good. And then the internet came along, and the internet's pretty good. It was pretty good for museums, the internet. We were a bit confused about what to do with it, or who to give it to. We gave it to the team that does the CD-ROMs, the CD-ROM department. Yeah, we renamed it New Media, because it's media, isn't it? But obviously newer. Then we started building websites, and largely our websites were to encourage visitors to visit branches. Then we started kind of digitizing our collections, slowly putting those online as well. And then fast forward quite a bit, and COVID happened, and nobody came to museums anymore. And it was weird. People went to museums 363 days a year for 100 years, maybe 200 years, and then it completely stopped. It threw everyone's disaster recovery plans into disarray, and museums had to think about how they're engaging audiences online a bit more. And quite a few were already doing it, but it really increased. And we saw a lot of this. We saw a lot of virtual museum tours, 360-degree photographic tours like this one, and also kind of virtual reality tours. Some of them were good, some of them were not so good. All of them, I think, missed the point, which is this. Most people who are visiting your museum, they're not visiting your building. They're interested in your subject matter. They're interested in a moment in time. They're interested in a place, but normally the place from which your object came, not necessarily the building itself. So we have these virtual reality tours. We can take people anywhere we like, and where we sent them was the place that they'd probably already been. You could have sent them to ancient Rome. You could have sent them to prehistoric Pangaea. You could have sent them to Omaha Beach on D-Day. But we sent them to Lambeth, which is, to be fair, equally frightening depending on which time of night you go. So yeah, we moved on from COVID. We saw lots of in-depth, sort of detailed high-resolution scans of, say, paintings. We had AR experiences, VR experiences. So we saw lots more use of technology, but a lot of that technology is in branch. So all the investment seems to go to these in-branch experiences, which is great, and I would like us to keep doing that. Don't get me wrong. But I think, there are potentially some missed opportunities. And throughout this whole period of time, it's all been push. We push content in front of our audiences. We say, this is the object, this is where it's from, this is what it means. And now, in the age of AI, we can push more, we can push at scale. ChatGPT, please write a museum label for a pair of invisible shoes, make it long and meaningless. And here we are. The ethereal souls. It's done well here, by the way. Welcome to the enigmatic world of ethereal souls, an avant-garde exhibit that challenges the very essence of tangible reality. Step into the void where absence and presence waltz in an intricate ballet of the imperceptible. I'm pretty sure I've read this before. This is ChatGPT holding up a mirror. Its training data is us. It's the stuff that we wrote. This has come from somewhere. It didn't magic this up. This is us. And we've somehow managed to train AI to write something about nothing that means nothing and somehow make it really bloody good. I love the bottom bit. Immateriality weaves the delicate threads of these transcendental shoes, embracing the absence of conventional materials. The essence of nothingness, intricately entwined with the metaphysical fibers, contributes to the weightlessness and transparency of this spectral footwear. If Nike made these, I would buy them. What we've been doing as a museum quite often is deep, but it's really narrow. You have to be present to have maximum impact. A lot of it has happened in branch. That's great, but we're missing something there. Often we're actually, by the way, we're saying but it's free. We have a free museum. We have 2 free museums. But I think there's something about free museums. It's free, but you kind of need the privilege to live in the city. You need the privilege to be able to afford to get into the city. You need the privilege to be able to afford to have lunch or buy a snack or have a drink when you're there. You need the privilege to have a half a day or a day to spare when you've got 2 jobs or 3 jobs. So it's free at the point of entry, but is it really free? The opportunity with digital is it gives you the ability to go wide. Yes, wide, not as deep, but wide. And that means you access new communities and potentially new perspectives. And that changes potentially what you do as a museum. And if you're going to go wide, you cannot push. You have to meet them where they are. You have to discover what questions wider audiences have about your subject matter and about your collection. So why wouldn't you go deep? Because it is good to go deep, but the problem is the more deep you go online, the less accessible it tends to be. But if you can basically get your insights across using text, using audio, using video, for the most part, as long as you've got an internet connection and a screen, most people can access that. Yes, digital poverty is a thing, but it's a lot cheaper to give someone a screen than it is a plane ticket. And the technology is evolving all the time, and the world is getting more connected, and we should definitely lean into that. At IWM, we're digitising more of our collection than ever. As mentioned, over a third of our collection is film, audio, and images. And we can enhance that collection digitally. We can add colour, we can increase the frame rate, we can increase the resolution, and all of that stuff makes it more deeply engaging, yet really accessible still online. Digital isn't just about reach, it's also about connection. So we have pretty much all the names of almost all the war memorials in the country, with connected regiments, places of work, etc. That helps people connect with conflict. We also have databases of soldiers and related information across many different conflicts. That data is as much a part of our collection as the objects are. And a lot of that data is increasingly sourced through crowdsourcing, which means we're reaching out to different communities and getting different perspectives, which is really important. What an object means to you depends on who you are. Collections come from across the world. They represent stories and experiences from everywhere. Objects that we have in our collection mean victory to some, they mean defeat to others. They mean death and glory. They mean justice and injustice. People can come into the museum with one truth in their mind and they can leave with another. And if they do, that really reflects well in terms of the work that we're doing. But what's important there is representation. And we'll only get that representation if we reach out to communities to understand their perspectives, particularly around something like conflict. Museums aren't the storehouses of knowledge. People are. Everyone's mind works differently. We absorb information in different ways. Sometimes we label those things. We say sight loss, hearing loss, ADHD, autism, and sometimes we create special times or special interpretations or introduce technology that supports people with those needs. But there's a vast array of experiences that we are not supporting because people have a preference or a need that is not diagnosed or labelled. We need to look beyond those labels. We need to look at our interpretation online and offline, and we really need to get close to those users and those visitors and deeply understand what they need. Do we need curators anymore? We talked about crowdsourcing. We've talked about AI. Can we replace curators with AI? Well, the thing with AI is it quite likes certainty. So when AI comes across a grey area, it does tend to hallucinate, which is a bit of a problem. Curators today, I think, actually have got a more important job than ever before. They have to look at every perspective, every truth, every mistruth, every falsehood, every massive patch of grey area, and try to navigate a course through that. This is cute, by the way. This is cute. Don't be fooled. It's gonna merge you and enslave you, but it is cute. AI created that, I think, to lure you into a false sense of security. So we are focused on service design and co-creation. We're doing lots more of that. We're only at the beginning of that journey, but I think it's working really well for us. For quite a while now, we have been doing lots of social listening, search engine data analysis. We survey new and existing users alongside that service design and co-creation. Over the last 4 years, we've doubled our website traffic, we've tripled our social media following. Since May 2020, we've grown our YouTube subscribers from 8,000 to 450,000. And we've recently surpassed 100 million views on YouTube. We've done that through listening, through testing and learning, and a lot of failing, if I'm honest. And we're only at the beginning. By the way, you might think, we just saw the social media presentation, you might be thinking, why YouTube? Why not TikTok? Well, I'll tell you why. Because YouTube allows you to use longer form. Okay, we feel it's really important when we're talking about conflict to give people a full picture and the different perspectives. And for that, we need time. 30 seconds won't cut it, in our view. The other thing about YouTube is it tends to stay there and build viewership over a long period of time. With TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, it's there 1 second, gone the next. So we think it's more important to build in this way. It's working, but I think we've got a long way to go still. So we are not a storehouse of knowledge. We don't see ourselves as that. We're not the arbiter of sophistication, certainly not. But we do feel like it's important that we continue to reflect different perspectives. We want to move beyond a sort of portico building containing objects and VR experiences into a much bigger world where we can have a bigger impact. The Museum of Alexandria, as far as we're aware, did not have rooms full of paintings or objects. It was a centre of learning, possibly a centre of philosophy. The Greeks, they created the name museum based on the goddesses of literature, art and science, the muse. And the way we see a muse today is, rather than understanding knowledge, actually seeking inspiration. And I feel like that's the direction that we are hopefully going in. I love museums. A lot of people say they work at a museum. I like to say I work for a museum because a museum is more than just a place. A museum has a purpose. Our museum has a purpose to find evidence and perspectives of what happens in the past and use those to help society make better decisions in the future. Hopefully, we are sharing some knowledge, but more importantly, I hope that sometimes we're changing minds. Thank you.